Welcome back, everybody, to a special edition of the Swansea Beat.
Yeah.
My name is Dustin Rubio.
I'm Alex Thomas.
And this is Current Events Swansea Edition, Swansea Beat. Welcome back, everybody. Like I said, this special edition, because we're going to try a new kind of segment of current events. The Swans edition, so some of the stuff that's kind of happening.
Just a few different things. Other than recaps and previews.
And rather than just on the pitch, but some other stuff that would affect as far as the club and things like that. But one of the things we talked about in the Bournemouth preview was the presser you brought up.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go into that because that had to be one of the most disappointing pressers for any fan to watch.
I watched it live and as soon as he walked into the room, I just felt a negative vibe from him, honestly. Like, he just didn't look happy. It looked like he was just ready to quit, honestly. And then some of the stuff he said, man, I'm just like, man, you've just given up. You honestly have. On the pitch, off the pitch, you just don't look like you care anymore. I think you're just waiting for the words, "you're sacked," honestly. Even though there's questions brought up, like one of the guys from the press was asking him, there's links of Tony Pulis replacing you, and he just went, "I'm not worried about that." And then you're in his eyes, you're like, "We know you're worried about that. You know it's almost inevitable now. If we don't get results, you're gonna get sacked." And it's just like, it was such a downer. For a manager, you expect motivation. You expect them to be like, you know what, it's a dire situation, but we can do this. We can get a win. We can beat Bournemouth this weekend, and one win will change our whole season, and we'll get back on form and we'll stay up. No, he just goes, I don't think we'll get a result this weekend. I'm just like, what?
Well, I got into a conversation with somebody online, and they were saying about, they're just being realistic. And one of the things I said is, but that's fine. Look, we're all realistic. Every fan, for the most part, I would say a good 90 to 95% of us would be realistic of where we're at. Not necessarily the table, but the performance and just the morale, the players we have, or just how they're playing as well. So I don't think I think anybody can do that. Anybody can point out and of where we're at. But I think as far as a leader, a manager, somebody's in there, I feel like, if you're going in the press, and that is what you're saying, and that's what you're conveying, that's your energy, that is your body language slouched over a little bit, then what is your team talks like? You know what I'm saying?
The thing is, I don't think managers think, but that sort of attitude echoes to their players. I think if you're going to have a bad attitude, your players are going to follow with you, because you're meant to be their leader, you're meant to be their guidance in their game, and having that attitude, it's just going to bring them down. It's just like, even the man who's in charge of us doesn't have any confidence in us, really. I'm just like,
what? I mean, even if this team talk before the game, in the halftime or whatever, I mean, it's not as if he did this in secret. I mean, anybody could see what he was saying, and I think it was just body language. It was just how he came off. Now, I don't even know if it was worse that the owners came here and try to give him confidence as far as your job is safe. I don't know if that made him a little bit more relaxed, or I don't know if it would have been better if they left him kind of in that hot seat to make him dig deep and fight for his job, where now he probably feels like, because there's rumors, and we'll get into that as far as his involvement in January in the window, of whether he feels like, I can breathe, we're not relegated yet, but we, what I'm saying? And I feel like that could possibly have a negative impact on the team, because now this guy could be like, he's there, he is not afraid of what his bosses are going to think, as far as being there and being like, we're disappointed, we're all sad. When he said that, I was just like, I watched it all the way through once, but the first part I watched twice, because after he said that, I literally turned it off. I was like, I can't watch this anymore, because when he says, like, we're all sad, I'm thinking, no. Just be realistic. This is where we're at, but we can do better. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like the guy I was talking to online, I kept saying, I said, it's like the parent who's just saying, look, it's okay. And you say that until it becomes okay. You know what I'm saying? That you dig deep into your inner Bob Bradley and just, have this deluded belief or whatever. But I feel like Clement I think he's capable of doing something good,
Oh, yeah.
more than Bradley, just because I felt like he was a little bit out of his depth, and I felt like he really couldn't compete with other managers. But I feel like Paul can, we're in a little bit of quicksand, but I feel like if that's where he's at, man, he's not the guy for the job now.
Yeah, it's disappointing, to be honest with you, but if someone's going to have that attitude, it usually sticks with them. That's the thing, and unless we win, I don't see morale going up in Clement or any of our players. So
I think we need a run. I don't think one victory will do that.
Yeah.
I think we need a run of 3 results, 3 games with results. They don't even have to be necessary. I think we need a win, but even if we had a couple draws, I think we would get more confidence back, and because the performance hopefully would be better. But I guess look, moving on. Some other news that kind of happened within the week was with the Swans Trust, the chairman resigned. It basically was bullied. This is some primary comprehensive school type stuff.
There's just no place for it in football, honestly. I get, I'm a passionate Swansea City fan myself, but keep it on the pitch more than anything. I'll give a massive example. I'm a Real Madrid fan. A couple of years ago, everyone heard about this. Gareth Bale had probably one of the worst seasons ever, but people were bricking his car. They were going mad at him. It's like this situation. You don't. He stepped into this role bravely. He didn't want to do this role. He said that in himself. I didn't want to do it, and he came in. He stepped in, and instant criticism just came in from him. And I'm just like,
how long was he there? It was quite short.
It wasn't long. I think it was only a couple of weeks or maybe a month.
Yeah.
And it's not even just the attacks at him, it was the attacks at his family as well. And I feel like
just messed up.
Why do you need to involve a man's family? He's just doing a job. It's not it's like me going into WH Smith and just throwing bricks at one of their guys and just saying, you're doing a bad job. It's just you can be passionate about a football club, but going into their staff and just abusing physically and mentally is just, there's no place for it in the game.
I think when it goes past protest, I think then we have to remember it's a game. Although we love the game, I think we have to remember if it goes past protest. And what I mean by protest is even with us in the stands, a bad call, penalty not given, we can protest, and some people might use some colorful language, some people might not, but we will protest that call. Or even what if our players are doing bad, we can protest and booing or whatever. But I think I'm not going to, and I think even it's okay is if the team is going out and some fans want to be out there and let their feelings know of we are going to be out here in protest of that performance. It's not okay before the game.
Abusing,
but that is
threats,
different. I think making it personal. I mean, look, I'm all for Clement out.
But I'm not going to be I'll kill you if you don't leave.
I'm not gonna. I'm not even gonna follow this guy on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Because whatever he tweets out, anyways, I probably will see somebody will retweet it. But I don't need to go in his DMs and start saying some abuse.
Exactly.
That doesn't need to happen. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's a game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Just keep it out of football, man. It's just football has a lot of issues as it is, and just bringing that into it, abuse to a guy who's not even on that football side. He's more in the Swansea City Supporters Trust, which is meant to be for fans, and you're just there's no place for it.
I mean, it's such a major issue, in society, and I would say, coming from America, it was there, but I think here in the UK, it is such a big issue, but I think we don't really need to see that, and I think especially for people like a family, it's not as if their whole family were chairman, it was just one guy, and that would suck, you know what I'm saying? If me or you, let's just say people hated this and they wanted to protest us, giving our thoughts on Swans. And it's kind of to come after my family, to come after, it's just, for me, it would be a thing of, you're a moron, you need to, get off, get offline, go pick up a hobby, do something, go to the gym, do something.
Get a life.
It's just ridiculous to do that. So I'm not for that, Hopefully that guy and his family, hopefully they
feel
past this.
Hopefully they feel better. I think if they've moved, wishing the best. And hopefully he gets a new role somewhere else, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Some other big news that kind of came out yesterday.
Yeah.
And good old Piers Morgan, which if you don't follow him, you're missing out.
Congrats, Piers. I love you, Piers Morgan.
Oh gosh. His tweet. Let me read his tweet.
I believe the tweet was, "Congrats, Swansea City. You are now neither male or female."
Congratulations, Swansea fans. You are no longer male or female.
Yeah.
Yep. And the tweet he was responding to or quoting was Swansea City AFC. We're pleased to introduce a gender neutral title prefix for supporters.
Yeah.
Right. So the reaction I got right away, people like
it didn't go down well.
Somebody on Twitter, which I don't think like this, you know. I don't think this person would have issues with like, you know, look, your choice is your choice, you know. I think it just it's something new, so I think it brings a bunch of confusion, a bunch of questions and things like that. But one of the things people said, look, this literally it has to be the most embarrassing time for Swans. Not necessarily with that, but this was like the icing on the cake of everything that's been happening.
I think it was just somehow Swans trying to get good news out of something. It was just such a stupid, you know, people can have their thoughts, whatever, and all that sort of stuff, but I'm just like, why now? All the time is just to do this, you know. And I know Bournemouth were in agreement with Swans about it and all that, but like, I don't know, like, it's cool that, you know, they're giving the right to people to, you know, have their beliefs and have all that stuff, but I think it was just such a random thing, like. And for me, it's just like, why are you trying to bring in that into a football stadium?
Yeah, what I think is something as well. I mean, that's a good, you know, question as far as within football. But do you think about, like, look, football isn't necessarily the most professional, you know, thing. I mean, as far as we could say the professional athletes, professional, you know, businessmen, as far as owner-wise. But you have a bunch of fans. The fan base is wide. You have professionals. You have not so professionals, people where every other word would be F this, F that. They would probably not even thinking of being homophobic, but some of their vocabulary would have you know, homophobic slurs or whatever. But one of my thoughts, I think, is, look, why did we go first in this? Because this isn't even something every major business is doing. This isn't even something schools are doing, universities, you know, from my knowledge. Why did, like, it's just so many questions of why did we choose, and why did we, when our club, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we are fighting, you know, to make sure we have a certain amount of income coming in because we're playing in this league. And we're about to get, you know, kicked out because we're not good enough to play in there. All this stuff happening. Why did you choose this? Why did we choose this? And I guess one of the reasons as well is, one of the questions I have is, you know, why did we go first? Because, you know, I think there's so many questions. There's so much confusion with how does this work? Like you were saying, as far as like, you know, right, title prefix. So on your ticket or whatever, you can have whatever you want, Mr. or Mrs. or
MX or mix.
Mix or whatever it is, you know, that's fine. People's decisions. Look, that's your decision, you know. But one of the things I've been seeing online quite a bit is parents with kids. How does this work? And it's like most things. I think you have, like, we could easily brand all football fans and saying all football fans are hooligans and all this stuff. That's not true. Just because of a minority group that can ruin it for everybody. So in this sort of case, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say that anybody who chooses to identify with whatever gender or whatever, look, that's your business. I don't want to get in on that. But I think a lot of parents' concerns are maybe a minority group who are going to abuse that sort of option. And there's the big talk of, well, I don't want my little girl, my little boy being in there with a guy who just, you know what I'm saying? And then people are throwing out a whole bunch of ridiculous scenarios.
It's very possible, these scenarios, because in that post, that the tweet, like the story they put on their website, there wasn't much explanation as to how anything is going to work. I think they just said, we're just proud to announce the, you know, gender type of prefix. Tomorrow. You know, and I'm just like, so, you know, this is probably a really random thing to bring up, but like the toilet situation, how does that work?
That's kind of the big one.
That's the parents that are very concerned. Like, you know, you're not going to want your, I don't know, little boy or little girl in there, and then a guy who identifies as a woman want to come into the girl's toilet. I'm just like, Is that how it works? Is there a certain toilet for these things? Because I haven't seen any works happen in the Liberty for that thing to happen. So, I don't know. It's just really concerning for me. You know, not personally, but you know, me thinking of other parents and kids. You know, it's just it's very strange how that all of a sudden came about. But yeah, it's really strange.
No, that would be you know, a big thing. I think, you know, and I can, to be honest, I could see more guys, you know, just kind of taking the mick, maybe trying to be funny and dressing up as a woman and going into, not necessarily to look at little girls, you know, but more of just trying to see with women. And it's just one of those things of like, look, you know, you got some silly football fans who do some silly stuff, you know, running on the pitch naked, you know, attacking, you know, players and cars and all types of stuff. And it's kind of like, who's to say this isn't going to happen? Like, I feel like, look, I think, let's go with some equality, let's go with some stuff, but like, we haven't figured this whole thing out yet. There's a reason why all of society we haven't made a decision saying, right, schools, at the office place, this is how it's going across the board. We haven't did that as a nation. We haven't done that as a city. Why did we choose to do that? And I think, look, this could easily by next week be like, okay, we figured it out. But it's just one of those things of like, you just introduce something where fans are already frustrated, and it's kind of like there are other things to prioritize. Because at the end of the day, people aren't going to become Swansea City fans. You know, maybe some because of, you know, LGBT, you know, because of this decision. But I'm like, look, our football is terrible. You know, it's one of the, it's, you know, it's just not good. It's just, it's a weird decision. You know, I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or anything like that. I think before I would even answer what that is, I would just, it's just why. You know what I'm saying? Because of looking at every other organization, business, whatever, like, nobody else is doing this. We can go into the city center and go to the Quadrant or whatever. Like, there's not that option either. And it's not to say that we shouldn't have that option, but it's just more of a thing of...
It's just really random.
It is.
Yeah. I think we should just move on from this now, honestly.
Anyways, so we'll see how it goes. As far as tomorrow will be the big day. I mean, they changed the badge. You know, it's the LGBT Q, I think.
I wonder if that'll be on our kit tomorrow.
I mean, it might be. I know.
Bournemouth is a possibility. So.
Yeah, and I think and there's something I would say as well, just to add, is you know, there has been a big uproar with fans. Some of that might just be frustration. There are people who are very much against it. There are some people in the middle ground. They're just having fun with it. You know, saying, look, we should identify as Manchester United and go and take their trophies. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that, which is quite funny. And then, you know, and then there are people who are all for it. They're just kind of like, look, I don't see how this is a bad thing. Let's just go with it. But maybe they're not thinking with some of the concerns as far as toilets, how those things are going to work out. Or maybe they understand a little bit more than we do. But what I would say is, if people are just, you know, kind of have this archaic sort of view on it, as far as like, you know, football isn't, you know, it's a manly sport, or it's, you know, it's whatever, you know, there's no place for, you know, people that can identify as male or female. Like, that just makes no sense. And I think even with that, if we're going to say racism has no place in football, bullying has no place in football, then I think even with that, you know, I think it has no place in football. But what my concerns would be is, I don't think we figured this thing out, and I think we're just going into it maybe for some publicity and a PR stunt. And that's where I would have concerns and stuff like that. But anyways,
moving on.
Right. So moving on. One of the things that came out as well is Paul Clement will have, you know, that his job was safe for now, and that he would have involvement in January transfer window. What are your thoughts? Is that a positive or is that a negative thing?
It means he's staying. So it's quite a negative. It's the thing is, we've said this before in previous episodes, and we just question, have any of our managers really had that much of a say in our transfer windows? We've said this multiple times, and I'm thinking, Swan said, he's going to be a key involvement, but you've said that about multiple managers. Like,
Loudrop is the only one I can think of that probably had.
I'd the say, you'd like to bring in like a Pozuelo, a Chico, you know, all these different players. I feel like it just doesn't make a difference. I feel like you're going to go into this transfer window, if Clement remains manager until then, he's going to give a list of names probably, and I can see the board just reading off some names and then suggesting people similar but for a cheaper price. That's what I see the board doing, or saying, or Hugh just going, you know, we were linked to this guy a couple of years ago, I like him, I'm just going after him. That's what happened with Martin Olsson. That's what happened with a few different players for Swans, and I just feel like, he can have a say, but will it happen? Will he actually get these players in? Because, I'd like to think, Clement's very optimistic about the signings. I think he was optimistic in getting Sanchez in. He was optimistic about getting a few others in. Obviously, some of them didn't work out, but I feel like for this now in January, if he was to stay for it, I just don't think he'd have a say still. Honestly, I think he has to be prepared to work with what he's got, and to prepare for some very mediocre players to come in. And I think that's even for our next manager. If Clement does get sacked, say if Tony Pulis came in or something like that, I think he has to be prepared to work with what he's got, because I feel like our investment won't be that great in January.
Okay, let me just throw something at you real quick. Something that came out today, or I seen it today, maybe it came out yesterday, but as far as Paul Clement commenting on Rocky Mesa and saying about the training ground until he sees consistency, and that he won't play, but also in saying that I guess the transition period is already over with. As far as he gave him an opportunity, you give all players, an opportunity to transition to a different league, different team, whatever. And him saying that.
With Mesa, there's been rumours flying everywhere of what is wrong. I think he's been our main talk for a while. We've said it multiple times. Where's Mesa? Where's Mesa? He should be playing, but he never ends up playing. There's different rumours that, I'll mention one, people saying alcohol is a huge issue. But these are just rumours. You can't back them up with evidence, so I just don't want to get into that really. But even so, if it was an issue with that, or, I think when you've got an issue transitioning from Spain to a whole new country in Wales, it's hard for some people. Like we said, Baston is a massive example. People say he's one of the worst signings Swans have ever had, but I feel like for him it was a difficulty in transitioning into not even just a different league, but just a different environment. And
that's true, that happens.
People like we've seen pathetic excuses over the years of, like, people say, oh, the weather's too different. Like we've had that for transfer excuses before, and I feel like we know what Mesa is capable of. We saw him Las Palmas last season. We heard the links. He was linked to Atletico in the summer. We heard these great things. But I feel like there's definitely still a chance there for him. I feel like there's no one in a holding mid position that can really compete with him. Like people saying, oh, Britain. I don't see Britain playing that much ever since he's gone to that new role as a player coach. And there's no other holding mid I can think of in my head except like a Klukas, who's useless. No offense to the guy.
Do you think we're at a place where we can be picky? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think if we weren't in the bottom three, I think we could be picky and say, well, you know what, you're not. But I feel like at this point, it's kind of like, no, we're scratching our head for ideas. Where I feel like, well, I'm just saying this loosely. For me, I'd be like, yeah, well, throw the alcoholic in. I'm not saying he's an alcoholic or whatever. I mean, I didn't hear the rumor until you just said just now. But for me, I'd be like, well, throw him in. I don't know. Throw the person who does the kits for us. We need some options. And I think at this point now,
I think options are very short, and I think that's just our fault from the transfer window. I think we've praised the transfer window, then we've seen us develop into oh no, we actually lost the transfer window. But I think the reason for that, obviously, one of our biggest transfers, who was Mesa, has not played. A Klukas has had a few appearances, but not living up to his 17 million fee. Then you have Bonnie, who's been out for a while. Now he's slowly coming back in just because Tammy's injured. It's a very difficult time. We are very short of options, and I think I'd be willing to chuck anyone in, to be honest with you. Like, I said this yesterday to one of my friends. I said, I'm so excited just to get Kyle Bartley back in from injury, because I feel like he's a great defender. And I feel like, Norton's not doing well. And I was discussing with one of my friends, and we were just saying, man, call up some of the under 23s. Like Adam Humphreys, who runs our social media, he mentioned a guy called Kenji Go. Like, he has been beasting the under 23s at the moment. I'm just like, well, we suck up front, so why just not chuck him in for one game? Like, we've had McBurney do a couple of stuff. He hasn't scored, but he's featured. And I think give them time to transition in then. I think score. I think,
Yeah.
we have no choice but to accept that this is what we got at the moment until January. And I think...
Well, we definitely need some change.
Yeah.
We need something different, and I think even before the window, I'm all for a different manager coming in.
But to answer your question, is it a positive thing that Clement's recruitment? No.
Yeah, 'cause I guess you're still going to have a majority of the players still that you have now that are going to be playing, and if they're not going to play for them, I think the players, I'm not ready to write them off and say this guy's not good, this guy's not good, this is good, because I think we've seen players who do really good, but they might have played for a different manager, they might have played for somebody different, and sometimes it just doesn't work out, or they can't buy into the ideas or something. But yeah, that's it. Let's wrap it up with that. Yep. Yes. So like this episode, whether it's on social media, whether it's on YouTube, subscribe, share it. That'd be great. We appreciate all the support.
And we'll see you very soon.
Yeah.